Hey everybody, this is Professor Lilly, and we are now getting into our third week of class. So some of you might still be wrapping up your file management activity, cloud app activities, and submitting it um, on Sunday, or I'm not exactly sure which day I'm going to release this video. But on Monday we start the third week, and we also start a module that I call the graphics module. In the past, we called it module 2, and it covered about 3.5 to 4 weeks. And I've gotten rid of the module numbering, so I'm just calling it the graphics module. So basically, that will be 3.5 weeks. So you're going to have a week for Photoshop, a week for Illustrator, and then for InDesign, where you're creating your creative resumes, you're going to have a little bit longer than a week. So that activity, instead of being due on a Sunday, it's going to be due on a Tuesday. Partially because that week that it ends is going to be the midterm exam is going to be on Thursday. So it just kind of made sense to give you a little bit of extra time to work in InDesign and to figure that out. And be able to have a couple more days to submit that. So this week we're going to be working in Photoshop, and and so as you can see, there's guidelines for each of those weeks. But I've also given you some general resources that are for the whole graphics module. So that's here. So that doesn't necessarily have a specific week. I will be referring to a few things in that. And I just put that there because it kind of helps out with all weeks, and it helped to make these 3 weeks in terms of Moodle organization just a little bit kind of more simple, focused on the activities. So let me just talk about those first before I get into the Photoshop week. So I do want you to get into this tutorial. And this gets into like basics of graphic design. And this is a lynda.com tutorial. And as a Loyola student, you have, and actually LinkedIn bought lynda.com. You have access to all the lynda.com tutorials, and which is great. I mean, there's tutorials on almost any kind of application, like usually more complex applications focused on media design, like videos and graphic design and web design, all sorts of stuff. So I want you just to watch, I said it here, just watch the first of the 4 sections. Or all of the videos in the first 4 sections. So that would be the introduction, layout, composition, and color. Now you can get into Photoshop here, and for Photoshop I've kind of given you some leeway because students, I find that students learn digital media skills and working with applications differently. So not everyone's the same in terms of what they can learn the best from. So if you really like this lynda.com kind of atmosphere of video tutorials, then by all means get into Photoshop here. But there's some other options in terms of how you can do that. So anyway, I do want you to get into this, browse through these, and some of it is going to be a little bit more important, such as topography, for example, is going to be more important when we get into to InDesign and Illustrator. So that's one resource I want you to start getting into in this first graphics week. I'm going to do a lecture, but it's going to be a quick one where I talk about file formats, graphic file formats, and some of it's going to be in the Zoom meetings where we're Zoom Lab, and at one point I'll put out a little video covering a few things too, so you can check it out when you're not in Zoom. Um, and I do want you to check out this 8 basic design principles. This is in a oops, there we go. This is an Adobe Spark page that I found, and it just and the reason why I chose this because it gives good examples of each thing. So, and granted, the in the Photoshop Suite, you're going to be creating what we call web banners, and they're going to be relatively simplistic. I mean, not like huge design aspects, but still, it's good to kind of read through and think about like, so how do I align the text in my web banner versus a photo that might be in the web banner, and how can I kind of achieve contrast so that text or a visual pops out in the web banner. And some of the things like what repetition might be not be as represented in a relatively simple design of a web banner. It might be more important, and definitely very important when you get to your creative resume design. So I will have be talking about this in Zoom Labs, and then later on as we get deeper into the graphics module. And then there's some resources that I'm going to talk about here that are more so going to be important for InDesign and Illustrator. However, this I might pull this out, and actually I think there's already a link to this in the Photoshop week. But let me just note this. So I have, like I said, for those of you who are liking lynda.com, or who it's working for you, you found it an effective way to learn, then this tutorial gets into the process of Photoshop. Actually, you know what? No, this is the same one that I've linked to. So for it, I just put the link in 2 places. But for here, you want to go directly. If you're looking directly for Photoshop instruction, then skip ahead to chapter 5. And I used to have another lynda.com. Like, you can search lynda.com specifically for Photoshop, and there's a couple tutorials that are focused only on that. And last semester, a few students said they didn't feel like it was the best use of their time. But so that's why I include this. It's just a few kind of more basics, like what a PSD is and how to save it, how to start a new file, and things like that. A few things that we are going to cover in the Zoom Lab, but it's also here for when you need to consult it outside of the Zoom Lab. Okay, so let's get into the actual Photoshop week. Oh, and just to let you know, so this rubric, this Dropbox or submission box, this is only for me to be able to grade the whole graphics module. So all 3 weeks are going to be wrapped in together, and they're going to be a bigger percentage of your grade than the week 2 activities. And but if you can click in here and you can see what the rubric looks like. And as we get closer to the end, I will click on it and show you kind of what it looks like. But that's only for grading purposes, and you don't actually have to submit anything here. At least not right now. Okay, so let's talk about Photoshop week. So again, this is the activities that you're going to be starting this upcoming week, the 14th through the 20th, and just like week 2, the week 3 activities are going to be submitted on Sunday. Okay, so what are you going to be doing? You're going to be creating some web banners, and you might ask yourself, and I'm going to get into these guidelines here, but so you might ask yourself, what is a web banner? And here's a pretty simple, not sure why it's taking so long, description, visual description. That's not a very long reading. Why is it taking forever? Okay. And so basically, a web banner is kind of a generic term for any kind of graphic other than a photo that you would create for a web page. And nowadays, web banner or web pages, websites rather, are generally done in content management systems that have templates that have certain spaces for certain types of content. So a leaderboard, for example, and some of these sizes that they suggest here are a little bit smaller than what I've said I want yours to be. But a leaderboard, for example, is generally the spot on the page where a graphic goes, where it announces what the page is. So, for example, you see where it says thisdesigngirl.com, like that's a graphic. That's the leaderboard for this site. In certain site designs, it could be a space for an advertisement. Over here, where we see the large rectangle, that is usually a site or a space, kind of a hole for an advertisement. Because a lot of times, in a lot of these sites, they generate advertising revenue. And for example, if they're getting advertising revenue through Google, Google is throwing in an ad through a system that they've signed up for, and Google knows usually a fair amount actually about the user. Not always a whole lot, but like if they've been getting, they get a lot of information from your searches, so they might, for example, know that you're in the market for a certain type of laptop. So when you visit a site that might have nothing to do with laptops, all of a sudden, boom, you see an advertisement that pops up for a laptop that you might have searched for or looked at earlier in the day or last week, and it will just throw that advertisement in. And so based on what Google knows are the sizes of different advertising spaces, web banner spaces, they will throw in an advertisement that's that particular size. The other common sizes are, let's see, scroll down here. And this just talks a little bit more. You can click on this link a little bit more of what each one tends to be used for. Let's see, that's about it. So we have a medium-sized banner, half-page banner, or sometimes called a large rectangle leaderboard, or a different sort of or large rectangle. So anyway, web banner is just could be an advertisement, it could be an event advertisement, it could be some sort of promo for a feature on the website, and it just kind of demarcates what type of size we're talking about for some sort of graphic on a website. Okay, so you are going to be creating two versions, as I say here, of two different size web banners. So basically, I want you to choose from two of the sizes I've given you and create two versions of them. So maybe one version you kind of move around. You put your profile photo in one space and some text, and then you decide to work with a different sort of color gradient, and you've changed the text font, and you move things around. And generally, if you're in graphic design, you're giving a client, based on the client's specifications, several different versions of an advertisement, any kind of graphic design, and they get to kind of pick and choose which ones they like. Or sometimes before you even show it to the client, your team is looking at several different versions to decide what they like and how they want to move on and improve with that project. So here are the sizes, and you are asked to choose two of these sizes from A, B, C, and D. So either choose to do a square, a long banner, a leaderboard, or a large rectangle. And you can see the sizes. So if you choose to do the long banner, you need to make a Photoshop document that's exactly this size in pixels. So on Tuesday in the Zoom lab, I'll show you, okay, how do you start from scratch and make a new document and tell it you want it to be a certain size. And they will all be in either 72 or 96 DPI or PPI. And again, I'll show you what that means and how to do that. So you choose two sizes. And so let's say I choose large rectangle is going to be one of my sizes. So I'm going to start and make a document, and I'm giving you a fair amount of leeway in terms of what to create. And in this video here, and I'm going to email this out as a second video I want you to watch, I've gone through what students did in a previous semester, and I've given you examples. So you can see like the previous screen here, it's showing this student had her name in a creative font and worked with some of the color options, the paint options to make this kind of pattern behind her profile picture. So she's taken it, and she's also cut out her profile picture from the background to be able to do that. And so this would be, I think this looks like the square or one of the large rectangle sizes. So maybe she would first do this one, and then maybe she's going to move around, or maybe she's going to play with putting the color back into her face, or a different font, and moving things around. So that would be the second version. So the second version. I do want it to be a fair amount different because the idea is like you're playing around with the different features and different things you can do in Photoshop. So if all she did was come in here and change the text, the font, text font, face, then I might not be that impressed with that amount of change. I want to see you kind of playing around, and it's still the same web banner, but changing around with different alignment, color, font, experimenting with some of the features, things that you can do in Photoshop. So anyway, you make the first one, you save it as a JPEG, or yeah, I said JPEG. PNG is another optional, yeah, say here, PNG file, and then you change it up, play around with some other features, and make a second version of it, okay? So that's why two different versions of two different sizes. So you're going to end up with four. And then just to make sure that you're super, super comfortable with photo editing, I know that you've already done that this week or last week and week 2, but you need to be really comfortable. It should be very, very fast for you. So I'm asking you to also put in, when you submit, 6 photos. So 3 profile photos. So if you already have your profile photos that have been edited for the web from week 2, that's great. Just use those. And then 3 daily life photos. So if we were on campus, I would have said 3 campus life photos. But so just get 3 photos of experiment with your photography skills. Maybe a picture of your dog, picture of your house, picture of a park. Whatever it is, it's getting you to get out there and take some photos, or maybe you go on a hike. So just 3 photos edited for the web, and you're going to put all this stuff together in a folder, and so you're going to have your 4 web banners and 6 photos that are edited, and you're going to zip that folder up. I'm going to show you how to do that, but it's also called compress. I showed a few of you how to do it in one of the Zoom sessions last week. But you're going to zip it up, and the reason why you're going to zip that folder up is so that you can submit it as one document, a zip document right here. Okay, so that's going to be what's due, submitted the zip document in this Dropbox here by Sunday, September 20th. So in terms of resources, I've given you 2. This is an Adobe tutorial that goes maybe a little bit deeper into photo editing than what I did in the demos in the Zoom labs. And so if you're having difficulty or just want to learn about a few more features like crop, then use this reference. But the one you absolutely have to and need to watch and do is this tutorial. It's an Adobe tutorial on web banners, creating web banners in Photoshop. And what they are, in fact, they are giving you some files. You don't have to take these files, but if you want to open the files up and kind of really follow along, then that's fine. Do that, or you can already start your document. Choose a web banner size for our assignment, and get your assets. Like if you want a profile photo to be in it, or if you're making a fake advertisement for an event, then get whatever visual or photo that you want to include in there together, and then follow along what they are doing. And every once in a while stop and then work in Photoshop and work on your web banner and kind of get some progress, and then come back and hit play.
In this tutorial,
and it's not very long. You can see it's only 5 minutes. He is going into some more advanced features definitely than what you've done before, but adding color and using the color selector, and adding color to like a whole area, like a rectangle of color for a background, pasting in elements, and things like that. So it's 5 minutes, but it's pretty dense 5 minutes. So it's going to take you certainly much longer than that to go through it and actually kind of get all the different details out of it. You're probably going to be doing lots of pausing, going to Photoshop and working on yours, and then coming back and maybe rewatching the free aspects of it. So everybody really absolutely has to watch this in order to understand most of the important features that you can use in terms of creating your web banner. In terms of what to put in the web banner, I've given, these are suggestions, okay? So, and you don't have to have all aspects of this in every single one, but like for example, in the large rectangles, a fair amount of space, so I recommend having your photo, your name or name of event. And I've said that if you want to, rather than making kind of a web banner, and so one idea would be you're making a web banner that's going to end up on your WordPress website. And then another option is making kind of a fake advertisement for an event, like maybe a band is playing at a local restaurant, or any kind of ad that might pop up in a Google search, or you might put onto your website. And again, this video here is absolutely essential for you to watch. It's me going through samples of students' works last semester for this assignment. So you really need to watch this to kind of get a sense of what you can do.
And then finding a nice font. Make sure that you have the whatever text, except for I have the font set bigger, so automatically it makes any text larger. But you can see there, I mean, her head.
So anyway, and I go through kind of different examples of students. Here's my son's always using my YouTube account, or rather, since he's always logged into my Gmail. So it's funny, all the gamer, the YouTubers stuff that he's watching. So, and that's about it. So again, what we're gonna do in the Zoom session. So on Tuesday, I'm going to do some demos, and it's just going to be kind of like, here's how to get started, and answer some questions. Maybe I'll bring up a couple other student examples of student work for this assignment. And then on Thursday, I want you to at least for some of you, to have some work done already on the assignment, and you can show us the other people in the Zoom lab what you've done, and ask some questions. So this is not going to be a required critique this week, but it's going to be kind of, hopefully we can do a critique of a few students' works and just see what you have, and you can also ask me questions. So ideally you're already kind of a fair amount along in the assignment, so that you can ask questions about problems, or not sure what to do with a particular web banner. Okay? So make sure you get into these tutorials for the general resources, and especially the web banners and graphics Adobe video. Start watching that, and then decide which sizes you're going to do and start working on it. I mean, by Tuesday, you don't necessarily have to have started, but watch the tutorials, get into it, so that you can get the most out of the Zoom sessions on Tuesday, and then on Thursday, be prepared hopefully to show some of your work or ask questions about what you've done so far, and then you'll have a few more days to be able to turn that in on Sunday. Okay, so I'll see you in the Zoom lab on Tuesday.